A lot of people, if you go to a cafe in Korea, when people are on their laptops, when they go to the bathroom, they leave their stuff. They leave their cell phones, they leave their laptops, and no one bats an eye. No one touches it, and you could be gone for a couple hours and you can come back, and your bags and your laptops are all still going to be there. And that really speaks to the level of sense of security in Korea. And I want to come back full circle to Fieldcraft and what you guys are doing, and teaching survival, teaching self-defense. In the context of the civilian world, especially considering what's going on with Corona in the United States specifically, because we've sort of flattened the curve in Korea. How relevant is it for someone to be prepared? And how relevant is it for someone to prepare for the worst? When people think survival in Korea, their immediate thought is rubbing sticks together to make fire, which is pretty freaking hard if someone's actually tried. What you guys are doing, this modernized version of survival, how does that translate to the civilian sector?
Yeah, I think you're spot on with the whole example of leaving your stuff behind, because freedom breeds complacency, right? The more free you are in safety, the more complacent you are, which only means it's not necessarily a bad thing, which only means that cognitively you cannot allow yourself to automatically, subconsciously make mistakes, like leaving your stuff behind, like not paying attention to dangerous circumstance. Modern survival to me is definitively not rubbing sticks together in wood, because if you're at that timeline in your plan, you've done many things wrong, right? If you're naked and afraid in the woods, you've made a lot of mistakes.
Right.
So what I tell people is modern survival is just the conscious and deliberate planning, understanding, and then implementation of certain things to make yourself more statistically probable of surviving a bad situation. And look, it doesn't have to be, like, if I could use Korea, for example, it doesn't have to be a man-made disaster. I'm not talking about a guy walks into a store with a gun in Korea and then you have to be prepared to deal with that. Right. Because statistically, it's less likely to happen. I mean, I'd be very interested to look at statistics in Korea of what the most dangerous things are, right? What kills the most people? And it's more than likely cardiovascular disease, suicide, right? And accidents, right? The combination of all three of those things. Well, at Fieldcraft Survival, my company, we don't just talk about definitive bad guys coming out to attack good guys, because that wouldn't be very relevant to civilians because they don't experience that. Well, what we're talking about is, let's say you're in a beautiful part of Korea and you want to go on a hike where the temperature changes from day to night, swing 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Right, or from hot or warm or comfortable to extremely cold. Well, you trip, you break your leg or sprain your ankle, and now you're stuck. Well, we teach at Fieldcraft Survival, one, you should pre-plan that experience, planning for the worst case scenario, not the best case. The best case is part of that complacency. You put your laptop and your cell phone down and you go 100 times to the bathroom over a year and nobody touches your stuff. Well, if on the 101st time you come back and it's gone, then what's the worst case scenario? Well, it's all gone. Right. So then what if the behavior is, instead of just leaving it, you simply shut it down, put it in the bag, and you take it with you? That takes you an extra 15 seconds, and then you never get to the 101st time, and you plan for the worst case, which sets you up for success for everything in between. Right. So now you look at your routes when you go outside and you're going on this hike. You plan accordingly because you know that the extremities, which is tied to hypothermia, kill you the fastest. Right. In fact, in most instances, most people die in the first 24 hours from hypothermia. And if it's going to kill you, it's going to kill you. So do you have a space blanket to keep you warm? Do you have a lighter to start a fire to keep you warm? Do you have enough water, because 3 days without water will kill you? Do you have enough rations to survive. Those things is what we're concentrated on, because to be honest, man, I've seen a lot of companies, and especially our backgrounds, becoming sexy because the content's cool.
Right.
There's people teaching people to lockpick. There's people teaching people to shoot from helicopters.
Right.
But the probability and likelihood of that happening aren't likely. So if you're a civilian, how our company translates is we're talking about everyday things. 30,000 Americans die in car accidents every year. But that metric is because 9 million people are in accidents in vehicles every single year. So between 30,000 and 9 million, what specific things can I do as a person to treat my own medical wounds in trauma? You know, we have this saying, you are your own first response. Because if I'm in an accident in the middle of my farm in Korea, I don't want to have to wait for the paramedics to come rescue me.
Right.
If I'm in a bad situation in America, fighting for my life with a pistol from a bad guy, I'm not waiting for the SWAT team to arrive to save me. I want to be dependent, more reliant. Ultimately and finally, we want to build reliance in people. The more self-reliant you are to be accountable for yourself, the more likely you are to not put yourself in a bad circumstance. Look, Korea is on a peninsula. If there's an earthquake, just like Japan, you are in a very high likely geographical region to be affected by tsunamis.
Right.
The tsunami that hit Thailand killed thousands of people. The people who understood how tsunamis and geographical disasters work, because they pay attention, they're in tune to survival, they survived. Unfortunately, thousands of people didn't. And if I was a Korean in Korea thinking or maybe potentially trying to apply this kind of stuff to your life, I would start by doing research and looking, what's the highest likelihood of you getting killed or injured? And then planning and living your life. In America, people who follow Fieldcraft live this lifestyle of preparedness, of being self-reliant. That's the most exciting thing for me, because it's the same lifestyle that me and you lived in special operations.